What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Welcome to episode number 37 of the Lootcast right here on youtube.com/thegamelooters. Thank you, everybody who flooded into chat. Thank you, everybody who is listening on podcast services around the globe. And thank you, everybody who is here live with us tonight. Today, we have a very awesome episode lined up. I don't know if you guys saw it today, but it was probably all over any feed that you opened if you were on social media. Animal Crossing is treading into town, but might I say, actually, you're gonna have to take a vacation from said town because Animal Crossing New Horizons is here, and we learned a lot of news about it today. We covered it earlier, but early in the morning, and we reacted as best as we could considering how tired we were, but it was an amazing direct, and there's a lot of news that we're going to talk about today. We're also chatting about PlayStation not being at PAX East 2020. Yes, if you're wondering about PAX East, it is next week, and yes, Sony did decide to drop out of it a week before the show started. We're going to talk about why, what happened, and what's going on. But before we get into the news, I don't know if you guys see here, we have a beautiful cast of a lot of awesome people, and some returning and some brand new. So I want to introduce you guys to our guest tonight. Thank you guys for joining. Let's start off with Mr. Checkpoint Show. Thank you for joining.
Hi.
For the first time. How you doing?
I'm scared. I'm terrified. I've been pumped up about this all morning.
You're doing great, sweetie.
Oh, thank God.
It's a great start.
It looked like 8 Mile this morning. I threw up in the bathroom. I was wearing a hoodie. It was great.
So how are you doing? Tell the people who maybe don't know who you are. What do you do? What's your YouTube channel about?
I don't know what I do. I come up with videos, essay videos. People keep calling them, but I just think they're just me rambling about video games, and then I just make a video about them, and then people like it. That's what I do. That's the rundown. I'm not really good at advertising myself. I'm sorry.
What was your most recent video?
Yes, that's a question.
Yesterday, uploaded a video on childlike wonder in open world video games, especially focusing on Wind Waker, for example. So talking about how that adventurous spirit can sort of lead on to how we view the world and create stuff as we get older, and also sharing it with audiences, hence why I make YouTube videos like this. So, yeah.
So you talk about games people know, but with the perspective that's brand new, basically, like a different perspective.
Yeah. I sort of want to just sort of simplify things instead of going all over the top, making an Oscar-worthy speech. Just sort of taking games back down to basics and what people as gamers and what we actually just love to think about and do, and especially when creating video games and being part of game dev, like how you should use like your favorite perspectives and parts of video games growing up, and how you should like take that what you love and sort of nurture it into something completely new. I sort of want to help not educate, but just sort of put my opinion in that and see if it helps people come up with ideas. Yeah.
Awesome. One thing I want to say about Checkpoint's videos, they have improved at such a ridiculous level. And I've told you this, like at the beginning, you used to just like do reviews with just a bunch of humor. Yeah. And now they're almost like documentary style, like little mini essays of video games. So yeah, definitely check his channel out. I endorse it.
Thank you.
Definitely. And if I was somebody stumbling upon you, where can I find you? What's your YouTube channel?
It's the Checkpoint Show. It's probably gonna be quite difficult to find, but if you just type in the Checkpoint Show and then look for a stupid image of me being like, you'll find it. Yes.
I would click on that. I gotta let you know that.
Yes. Yeah.
So moving on to our next guest tonight, we have a returning guest, Mr. Gamer Thumb TV. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Hello. I have a cold all week, so I'm not doing too good, but I'm here.
You on that Theraflu kind of regimen? What you got over there?
I just take cough drops and let it work itself out.
Cough drops in time?
Yeah, man. I'm too busy making YouTube videos all the time to worry about all these medicines and stuff.
Gotcha. What's new on the channel if we were to check you out this week?
Who new on the channel? Between now and tomorrow afternoon, I have 3 new videos popping up.
Woo.
Yep, I got one uploading. Actually, it should be uploading in a couple minutes here about Castlevania Season 3 characters.
Nice.
Tomorrow, I got a Mortal Kombat History of Baraka video and a video about the new Tiger Electronic handhelds.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yep.
Tiger Electronics. Yeah. So he shared a post with me on Twitter today, and I felt all the nostalgia just kind of flowed through my body. I immediately thought of like 3 to 4 different like old handhelds that I used to have. One especially, which is the Power Rangers one, that was like my bread and butter for a long time. So I love that they're bringing those back.
You know as well as I do, it's all nostalgia because all those games sucked.
Yep.
Oh yeah, they're terrible. But then it very much nostalgia driven. And speaking about being driven by nostalgia, you're Player 2 coming back another week, man. When I see your Player 2, I get nostalgic inside. How you been?
Wait, when do you get nostalgic for when you see me?
I was gonna say, that's not how I feel.
The last time he saw you.
Wow, that's hurtful, Nathan. It's been a good week. I did an unboxing of and may lightly be playing right now Darksiders Genesis, which is a whole lot of fun to shoot. It's a beautiful collector's edition. I had a lot of fun with that one. As far as upcoming stuff on the channel, I will be doing a video about why it is so hard to do streaming, like the format that we're in right now, and that's going to be dropping on Tuesday. And next Thursday, an ill-advised and kind of a pitfall of like me batch filming and doing videos early and having some cushion built in is sometimes you make a video and then something happens in between when you're going to put it out and when you made it that almost invalidates it. That video will be why I think we're going to get a Switch Pro, which in retrospect, horrible idea. So I'm going to have to put like a big caveat there. Like I still think my reasons for one make sense, but yeah, we're probably not going to get it in 2020. So I'm going to have to walk that back a little bit whenever
They did say we're not getting one, right?
I think they said no new hardware beyond the Animal Crossing Switch probably.
Yeah.
Well, no, that can't be right either though, because then out of nowhere they released this Coral Switch Lite like a couple of days ago.
Light.
So they're liars.
I think it's just a new color.
Yeah, so I think you can still get variations on hardware. You just can't get. We're not gonna get like a beefed up like Super Switch.
During the investor call, they said no hardware revisions in 2020. That was the verbiage that they decided to use. So there could still be new consoles, new hardware,
Oh,
but just not any revisions of.
Okay.
Collector's editions, like something else.
They could
They're going to repaint, but they're not going to upgrade the system entirely because
exactly.
They could just unlock. They could just unlock the power that's already there too.
Yeah, cosmetically speaking, like there's nothing tying them back of giving them a new paint job. But, but giving them brand new hardware for your new Switch
it doesn't
Pro,
really make
not happening.
Yeah. I mean, plus with all the new consoles coming out, like they're going to have to update majorly anyway. Like it's not like they've been behind anyway, but to upgrade, to have a literal switch up. You know what I mean? That's what they should call it. Switch.
I see what you did there. well
Nintendo's in no rush though. They're doing fine.
Yeah,
exactly.
And they know it.
Yeah.
But I'm so mad about that. Are we talking about the Coral one later, or is this just off?
No, we're not talking about Coral. Yeah,
I'm actually kind of mad because like I really like that color, and I'm like, why would you do this to me? My only thing is, I hope it's not like a limited one. I hope it's one of those like permanent colors to stay, like with the teal, the yellow, the gray.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the coral pink one would be a nice little addition to like if you're buying into a new Switch. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I think the only thing with that is I hope it's a permanent color.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. Is it a better color than the Animal Crossing Switch color?
No. I mean, not enough for me to like regret my decision. Like for
I
like
gotcha.
150 million%. Like the Switch, Animal Crossing Switch was like the best thing I could possibly get.
Yes.
I gotcha.
Now, if there was no Animal Crossing Switch, like in the foreseen like future or whatever, then maybe this color might have been the one that we're like, okay, maybe now I need a Switch Lite.
Right.
No, not happening.
Okay. Fair.
Anyway, speaking about an upgrade, Mr. Monopulse in the middle today. Thank you for coming back another week. Again, like always, not much of a choice, but we're glad you're here to talk about the news this week.
I signed a contract. I'll never get out of it. It's fine though.
Yeah, it wasn't ninja money either. I mean, it was like I threw him like a $5, and I was like, "Go ahead and sign."
There wasn't money. That also is a lie. We did go up this week. Center stage. Actually, I think I'm paying him by this point. Maybe I should read over that contract again. No, doing great. Glad to be back. Got a lot of news this week that's juicy. I know that one of our first topic when we get into it, it's kind of a bummer, but I'm actually looking forward to the event next week for a different reason. And of course, we've just been chilling, doing our raid nights on Mondays. Had some fun. Got a shiny Gudra this past week, so I was pretty stoked about that. I love Gudra, and just playing WoW. Just been playing WoW. Still just playing WoW. That's been my life. As the last patch is now for this expansion now, and there will be a content drought until October. But either way, that's where we are right now. Also, real quick, because we're not talking about this tonight, is there any validity to the Diablo? Am I hearing about a Diablo series on Netflix? Is this real?
Oh yeah, I did hear about
Overwatch and Diablo.
Really?
Yeah, those are the two.
I think Diablo's closer than Overwatch.
No shit.
I don't know.
Wow.
Pretty sure. I think they said that Overwatch was still in development, but Diablo's like moving ahead. I think. I thought
They're cashing in some of that Witcher bucks.
Yeah. Well, is it like a live action series, like not Castlevania? Like,
I hope it's animated. I think
it's animated work.
Netflix is doing a lot of animated stuff.
Yeah.
Except Resident Evil. Resident Evil's supposed to be live action also.
Resident Evil should be animated, but yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I wonder if they're trying to take on The Walking Dead with that move, and I wonder how that will play out.
I'm kind of hoping it's not like, because there's rumors that it's going to be like a post-apocalyptic thing, but that is Walking Dead. Like, what?
Right.
You don't need to do that.
Resident Evil 3 was the worst out of the movies, like, because of that reason. It was just boring.
Are people still... This is gonna... I don't watch it. Does Walking Dead still exist?
Yes.
No, it's over, though.
Is it over?
No, the mid-season.
Over.
Mid-season. It's coming back in like a week.
Does Fear the
I thought
Walking
it
Dead
ended
exist?
at like season 8.
No, it's still going. They're actually...
Yeah.
Because me and my fiance, we watch it every time it airs, even though realistically it sucked for like 3 seasons now, I think. But we've been watching it since the beginning. They're making another spin-off show now.
Oh, God.
Apart from Fear the Walking Dead. Yeah, they're making another one. I forgot what it was called, but it's about kids that grew up during the apocalypse.
So it's an excuse for them to continue the story.
Now we've got a prequel, we've got The Walking Dead, and we've got one with a little time jump.
Are they all set in the TV verse, or is it all the comic? Like, are they going to?
No, it's just AMC. It's just AMC. So
well, the reason I asked if it was still on is I don't hear anybody talking about it ever. So my question is,
because nobody cares anymore.
So with that being said, Resident Evil could come in and be the new Walking Dead, because they're probably people after 90 seasons or whatever are probably just tired of whatever that universe is offering, right?
I think it's difficult, especially when you speak about Resident Evil as well, because Resident Evil fans just love the lore, but how many people just want to sit there and watch William Birkin make the G-Virus besides, fans being like, oh god, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a different sort of like excitement, like where Walking Dead has, like characters more than just lore, like, I don't know.
It's fair.
Yeah, I thought The Walking Dead killed off all their characters. That's why I thought the season was like permadeath.
Well, this is what they do. They kill off characters when actors are tired of doing it. And they announce it on social media like a year before they do it, so you already know they're going to die. So then they introduce new characters that nobody cares about, and a season later they kill off the new characters. So they're just recycling people. That's all they're doing.
Love it or hate it, I think that's one thing Game of Thrones did pretty well, is when somebody was gone, you really didn't know. And they kind of
they just
your seed.
throw it at you.
They did pretty good on spoilers. Keep them lit on spoilers like that. So.
Oh, and also, last thing about Walking Dead, they're also coming out with movies, AMC movies, about characters that are written off. So I think there's like 3 movies in development now. It's weird.
Man.
So no, it's not over by any means.
Because I don't know if anyone else has touched it, but the Walking Dead game on Oculus Rift or just VR.
I heard it's incredible.
Saints and Sinners is probably the best like VR survival game I've ever played. It's probably the best survival game I've played. It's perfect.
Oh. Okay.
It makes zombies generally scary. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, and it's good. It's good, especially because it's Walking Dead. It's quite surprising.
Dang, that's big praise.
Oh no, yeah.
Well, question for you guys. So what's everyone been playing in the month of February? What's kind of in your guys' rotation right now? Starting with you, Checkpoints. What you been playing, man?
I have been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Origins, actually. I've recently just reinstalled it because I was, like I said, in the Childlike Wonder video, and I was like, I'll just give it a go and play. And next thing I know, I've just been hooked on that again. Yeah. So that's been my downtime video game. But then I've just come off playing Dead Rising 4. I'm going to play Dead Rising 4 and Crackdown because I'm going to sort of try and make a video about how rewarding chaos, like when things get crazy, but without it being scripted, it sort of feels more rewarding. Yeah. So I want to talk about how games like Dead Rising 4, because it's cookie from the go, or even Saints Row 4, because it's at a permanent 10, it becomes always like a 10 there becomes boring. So I want to sort of talk about how you should reward players with excitement and chaos rather than just making your game solely on that idea. So yeah, but yeah, just been playing a lot of just crazy games like that.
That's
Yeah.
cool. It's an interesting rotation of games. So
How was Sea of Thieves with Josh the other night?
Yeah, it's great. It's beautiful. He betrayed me again.
That happened. So it's not
It's been
true.
wonderful. It's been one. I didn't expect to fall in love with that game all over again. Like it's like I played it when it first came out. I thought, okay, there wasn't enough here, and I'll come back to it when more came to it. And obviously playing with Josh and stuff, it's like this game is just amazing. It's
we
just
need
the
to
world.
jump. We need to jump in for the Cruise of Rage.
We need to go
Rage
back
stuff.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Get back to
It's
the
just delightful.
seas.
Yep. The sea calls to me.
Just
Well,
I just feel like
remember I can play. Was it Mondays, Tuesdays,
Monday, Tuesday, and
Wednesdays?
Wednesday, right?
Yep. Mhm.
right.
There
Keep
you
that in
go.
mind. I might. The thing is, because I work every other 4 days,
Yeah,
I'm never
yeah, I
on
know,
a set
it's kinda
rota.
hard, and you're like always
Yeah.
like opposite time frame from us.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Doesn't
We're
matter.
like, let's play
He doesn't
CFC. It's like,
sleep
hey, it's
anyways.
4 a.m., right?
Yeah, doesn't count. Yes.
So, throwing over to Gamer Thumb, I know you said you're doing a video on Mortal Kombat. You always have some Assassin's Creed content. It seems like that's always kind of just overflowing. What else? What you been playing?
What have I been playing on my downtime? You know
Yeah.
what's weird? Every once in a while, I haven't been playing anything new lately. Once in a my game collection on my console and just pick a game that's in my backlog. So lately, the last couple of weeks, I've been playing Far Cry 3 Classic,
Ooh.
the remaster that came out on Xbox One.
Okay.
So I've been playing through that. I really like that game. I beat it on PS3, and now I have the Xbox One version. What else have I been playing? Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the bane of my existence. I'm still. I think my problem is there's too much stuff on the map for me to do, and I want to do everything before I beat like main quest and side stories. So
I'm like,
I've been
have
playing
like
that.
40 hours in that game, and I feel like
That's
I feel like the tutorial just said I was done or something. Like I feel like that just happened.
No.
It's
I kinda like-
massive.
I just kind of like gave
Yeah.
up. I was like, well,
I'm reaching like 150 hours in it now. And there's still way more to do. Like Origins was huge, and I know Checkpoints can vouch for this. Origins is a huge map.
yeah.
Odyssey, they took that and just went crazy. Like they expanded it and then put a bunch of stuff all over the place.
Oh,
So
man.
yeah, it's
did you dabble in the Atlantis stuff, the DLC?
I got it, but I haven't gotten to the DLC yet because I'm doing everything before it first. So
That's
it's
what-
there for me to experience.
That's what I
Just not
thought
yet.
I was going.
You're never
to do.
ever finishing it. You're going to release 3 more Assassin's Creed before you even think about finishing it.
Well, the thing is, we're supposed to be getting one this year from
please.
what's. I mean, it's coming. There's one coming this year, and am I going to be finished with Odyssey by then? I don't know.
Doesn't matter. You can
I
double
don't.
team
I,
it, double team
I
it.
I have to finish it before it comes
I've got
out.
dual monitors in 4.
That's too funny. I like how we're talking about fall time, like end of the year. You're like, I don't know if I'll even be done. I might not even be done with the game.
But that's how deep this goes.
Yeah.
That's how deep it goes.
Been at it for a while. Yeah. Wow.
Well, speaking about going deep, Mister, you're a player too. What you been playing, man?
So I've been playing a combination of some new stuff. Now, I've been playing Darksiders Genesis, which is a lot of fun. I think I'm about halfway done with it at this point. But I had a deal with Maro in the chat that
Yeah.
I would pick up Snack World, which you also got. You've been playing Snack World.
Well,
And,
He
I've
touched it for that.
I've played
like,
a
2 hours and
three,
grabbed
little over
it?
3 hours. Of
Well,
it.
you beat Medusa though, right? So we can play together online.
Did do that?
Yes. Yeah, and I played that the other night with Jakin and Mara and had a really good time. It's weird because I looked at that game really just super skeptical, right? Because when
Yeah.
I was like, you should get Genesis and we'll play it together. She was like, you get Snack World. I'd never heard of Snack World. And I was like, awesome. Sounds great. And I looked at it and I was like, what horrors hath I wrought? And I got it. And it's surprisingly enjoyable. Like the writing's really sharp. This is from Level 5, the same cast that did Nino Kuni. And it's, the writing's really sharp and funny, if not a little bit more adult than I would have expected for such a cutesy kind of aesthetic. So I've been playing those 2 games, kind of hopping back and forth. And then out of nowhere, also, Mara's like the bane of my existence, knowing I have a commanding backlog, dragged me into Bloodborne, of all games. A game that had been rotting in my
I
backlog
saw
for
that.
years.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I played it like once for about 30 minutes, and that was my first like Soulsian type experience. Right? It was the first time I really played a Dark Souls-ish game was Bloodborne. And I played it for about 8 minutes. I was like, who would play this garbage? This is terrible. And then I just like stopped playing it and ignored it. Until later on, I would start to develop more of an appreciation for really hard games. Like Sekiro is fun, even though I haven't beaten it. It's a different kind of joy, right? It's like it's the kind of joy that like Gamer Thumb seeks out, just this punishing sort of like relentless, like, you know, just masochism. And I decided I would go ahead and try Bloodborne. Bloodborne's super fun with other people, and even playing it solo, I was like, man, like the atmosphere is so like hauntingly thick and densely packed, and there's just so much to sort of like peel back from a lore perspective. Like I really got into it, and now basically Mara and I are both kind of leaning on our buddy Daniel, who he streams it every now and then. He's kind of carrying us through it. He's like, you know, because the game's super cryptic. Like even to do multiplayer, it's like, well, you have to get the special bell to do it, and you have to go past like multiple werewolves.
From software.
So it's Simon's Quest.
Yeah, like it's super
basically
cryptic. Like, and it's weird that you say that, because like in the middle of playing it, and especially so when I saw that Daniel was wielding a whip, I was like, this feels real Castlevania-ish. Like almost, I don't know. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. Bloodborne's super fun. I get wrecked in it, but Daniel's been carrying me. You know, so that's helpful.
Very nice. Mono, I know what you've been playing. You've been going through the worlds of World of Warcraft, doing your thing.
I can tell he's doing it right now.
What? Actually.
Oh. So not today.
Check the reflection on the glasses.
Yeah, I always check the glasses. That's what gave Jake and me last week.
Yeah, I was like, Jake, what do you think? He's like, oh. I was like, yeah, okay, never mind. You get your slimes, buddy. Go ahead, do you. It's fine. Do you want to talk about what you've been playing?
I'm just sticking with the regular on. I mean, I need to get more into my backlog,
Diverse.
but still playing, of course, Dragon Ball Z, Kakarot. And then, I mean, I'm just kind of just stuck on the Monster Hunter Iceborne. For whatever reason, it reeled me back in with the Appreciation Week, and it hasn't left my grasp. So, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Do any of you guys ever run into the problem? I just ran into this the other day with sorry, like I said, I had a cold. With Red Dead Redemption 2. Do you guys ever have a problem?
I run into that problem.
No. I ran into this Red Dead Redemption 2 where I wanted to play a new game that I hadn't started yet. And you're sitting there, and by the time you decide to load it up, you think about how much time you have to invest in that game. So you just kind of give up and pull away from it.
Yeah,
like I loaded up the main menu in Red Dead 2, and I was like, I can't.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
So I just quit out of it and went back to the dashboard.
I love and hate Red Dead Redemption 2 so much. Like it's one of those. It's like it's so beautiful. It's the best rendered world in all of gaming. It looks perfect. You have to do all these small details. No one has time for that. Like I don't have time to watch you skin a deer for me to carry a deer to take it all the way back just to do one thing that I could do instantly in Witcher by pressing one button. It's like, no. That should not be the future of games because no one has time for it. Like, but at the same time, it's like, core, isn't it a masterpiece? It's like, I love this game.
Which is why I chose not to start it yet.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe after Odyssey, but see, the problem is after I beat Odyssey, the next one will be out. So it's just a never-ending cycle.
Red Dead is a hard one to start because of what Checkpoint says, and it just takes so long to get anywhere. And if you get distracted easily by side quests, there's side quests that can take hours.
Oh yeah, I'd be screwed.
Oh yeah,
so
I'd be screwed.
Every smokestack you see, there's a mission there. And if you decide to go past it, you're like, oh, well, I might be missing out on this crucial story plot that I would never get if I just keep going.
And it's one of those you don't even decide. Oh, I should maybe I just fast travel to get to the story mission. No, you have to play the story missions to buy the quick travel to be able to do that.
Yep.
And even by that point, you've put 60 hours into the game. It's like, well, what's the point?
See, surprisingly, I've actually never played the game. I think I lived it through Dom because of just like.
It's an investment.
Yeah,
it's a big time
all
investment.
The countless hours that he put into it. I think I just lived through it through him. I'll probably put it like in the way back burner of my backlog. Like maybe one day, maybe.
That's a 100, 200 hour backlog there.
Yeah.
So myself, I've been playing through Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I've been trying to get get that finished. I'm a little over 60 hours into that. I've invested way too much time by this point into trying to see everything in that game. And I've also been playing through the Fire Emblem Cindered Shadows DLC. So I am trying to finish the DLC right now, shoot a couple of videos, and then get that done so I can start a brand new playthrough again for like the 4th time, so then I can go and recruit the new characters from the DLC. So those have been my main 2 games in rotation. And I also started up Fire Emblem Awakening the other day on the 3DS, and I shouldn't have done that, so I put it down. I played it for about an hour, and I put it down because I was like, not yet. I don't even know why I booted it up to begin with. So that's kind of what I've been playing this week, as well as Snack World. I did jump into it a little bit, but the reality is like I need to finish Tokyo Mirage. I need to finish Fire Emblem's DLC before I really invest too far into another game, even though I know that there's more games that are going to distract me from the goals.
And the backlog continues.
Yep.
And the backlog continues because Amazon just notified me. It's like, oh, Rune Factory 4 is going to be here in just a few days. Get excited. I was like, God damn it. All right, well, let's go. It's going to be great. I'm going to finish these games. So that's that.
I got a beef with Amazon, man. I pre-ordered the Doom Eternal Collector's Edition months ago after they renewed the release date because it was available. I just got an email the other day that my order got canceled because they don't have enough stock.
Oh,
so
seriously?
What?
Why'd you let me pre-order it months ago then? I noticed. I was like, I'm looking through my orders. And I'm like, it's gone. It's not there at all.
Secure anywhere else, or did you just kind of bank on that? Because that's hard to find now.
Well, the reason I was so excited about it was because it was sold out everywhere. And then it got delayed and Amazon reopened the collector's editions.
Yeah.
So I went and pre-ordered it and they canceled it. Yeah, so now I was like, all right, well, I'm screwed. No collector's edition.
Amazon does such a bad job too of notifying you when things get canceled, because that's happened to me so many times, like different like games or like Amiibo or something. It's like, oh, well, due to stock, we canceled your order, but I wouldn't have known until I was like, I think it should be here tomorrow, and then I go look, I'm just like, oh, what? Like,
I had to manually go to canceled orders to see if it was there, and it was there, and then I dug through my email and found it in like a spam folder.
I'm like, I'm checking my Animal Crossing right now. I'm like,
I was so mad.
Well, speaking about so mad, Sony has decided to make a decision that's made a lot of people coming to a convention this coming week extremely mad. Mr. Monopulse, let me go ahead and cue the wonderful news music. Hold on, let's get real cheesy because we got a pleasy. Let's go ahead and start it and then take us into the first news story of the night.
Well, PAX East is right out around the corner, but Sony won't be there because Sony has backed out of PAX East over current worldwide infection. This is us getting around the YouTube auto thing, which I can think of something. We're going to call it the Sharona Pirates instead of the actual name.
I thought we decided on Con Flu.
Con Flu? I didn't hear that. Good
Yeah.
I've heard the term Woo Flu.
Woo Flu?
Okay, hold on. Okay, we got to take a vote. So we have Kung Flu, Woo Flu, and
Kung
then...
Flu.
And then what did you say, Moto?
I said the Sharona Pirates.
The Sharona Pirates. Those are all the tables.
That was really close, though. I mean, Kung Flu is...
I like Kung Flu. We'll go with that.
Kung Flu is pretty good, but it makes me say the C word because I'm British and that's how we say the C word. The
C word.
The C word.
We will call it COVID-19 by its God-given name. PlayStation is pulling out of PAX East due to increasing concerns related to the illness spreading in China and other areas of the world. It said on the PlayStation blog today. Sony's booth was slated to feature major upcoming games such as The Last of Us Part 2, breaking Josh's heart especially, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Doom Eternal breaking my heart as well. The show, which has drawn over 70,000 attendees in the past, takes place in Boston, Massachusetts from February 27th through March 1st. This news comes 2 weeks after a man living in Boston was found to have the illness, returning home from Wuhan, China, the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak. Now, there was an updated statement from Sony 1:52 p.m. saying, this is coming from PAX East. While we are saddened that Sony will no longer have a presence at PAX East 2020, we look forward to welcoming our friends at Sony to future PAX events and are focused on making PAX East 2020 a successful and enjoyable event for all attendees and exhibitors. basically, it's a public health concern. They're pulling out. They pulled out of E3. Sony's nowhere to be found, but I'm still excited for PAX East because we're going to see the first gameplay of Baldur's Gate 3. I don't give a shit. What do you guys think?
I don't think it has anything to do with the virus.
No,
Probably not.
I don't believe
Yeah.
that.
Cop
for a
out.
No.
That
Yeah,
sounds
'cause,
kind of
like-
scapegoaty.
What maybe if it was taking place in China, but it's in Boston, Massachusetts. Give me a break.
Yeah.
I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it just looks bad on them. It really does.
What I
The
don't.
timing,
Yeah,
too.
they've sort of. I don't know whether or not they're doing it on purpose to shoot themselves in the foot so they can make the greatest comeback of all time, but they just.
That's a horrible marketing tactic.
I mean,
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Like literally the week before, the event, like at least with E3, we saw that coming. Like,
Right.
here we are, like
Mhm.
almost 6 months in advance, and they announce, oh, we're not going. Okay, that's fine. If you want to do your own thing, that's whatever. But confirming you're going to an event and then a week backing out of it, like that's just terrible.
It just sucks too. Imagine being a PAX East ticket holder or an event pass holder, and you're going specifically to go play Final Fantasy or see one of the Sony offerings. Like that's crushing. Especially it's expensive.
Also, I think it's like not good for the developers. Like, imagine being Naughty Dog or even being and being like, yeah, we can finally show people our game and more of it, and they're like, yeah, that's great. It's like you're not going.
And then
It's like,
Sony's
what?
like, nope,
Yeah,
sorry.
but- sorry?
It's like, oh, well.
Yeah.
It is really unusual. I think there's something going on internally within Sony, because even there's a lot of reports of them having a bunch of conflicts with ESA, and that's actually the reason they're not attending E3. You'll have some fans defend them and say, well, it costs a lot of money. So what? That's pennies to these huge.
Yeah, it's not about the money for them. Because
We're talking about
No,
multi-billion-dollar companies.
they're out of
it's
this
nothing.
money for PAX. Like they lose whatever they put in for their space. They're not getting that back. Like, it doesn't matter if you're not showing, they lost that money. So money to them is like nothing.
The other thing too
Right.
is Sony does the same song and dance that Nintendo does. They don't send like the people who are employed by Sony or PlayStation there. They send marketing. That's what Nintendo does. They employ a marketing team that hires people who work for staffing agencies to go work.
Yeah, they
with
send them
gigs.
some shirts.
Yeah,
Right.
they so what I don't understand is they're gonna have locals, in the Massachusetts area, they're gonna be working the booths and stuff, like,
Now there might be some,
representation.
Yeah, but like not enough for them to say it's like, well, we're backing out for, the overall health concerns. Like that's ridiculous.
Right.
That's such a non-believable excuse, though. Like it's
Yeah.
really like on its surface, you're just like you couldn't think of anything else.
It's like, okay, yeah, just
What do you
grab the
mean?
most relevant thing and we'll just use that. Like,
Why is
okay.
everyone else there?
It's super relevant right now. I mean, it's an easy out with people like. I mean, we can be here and be cynical. I think it is somewhat cynical to lean towards this because we've been burned so many times by X, Y, or Z corporation. So I completely understand it, but it's almost the perfect excuse. It's like if I use this,
Get
or
out,
just the
Joe
perfect
free.
reasoning. It's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
was
a
gonna
get
say,
out
like,
of
can
jail.
I get on a PAX
Yeah,
free
yeah,
card?
it is.
Yeah,
it
get
is.
out of PAX, free card, because you can't really that terrible company's got concern about well-being of its employees attending this place where one person got sick. I mean, if you delve, you can be cynical about it, but it really is a get out of jail free card.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
I like to say this because as a parent, it's like when you have kids and you're saving your kids for an excuse when you don't want to go somewhere.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like,
I have 4 little brothers, and I use that like, oh, my mum needs.
No, yeah, it's like, oh, there's a virus. Sorry, yeah, I'm not. I actually didn't want to be there to begin with, so let
Kids
me
are
play this
sick.
card now.
It's like
Right.
My grandma's died twice. Oh, my brothers. Like, yeah.
I'll say this: this is a perfect opportunity, though, business-wise, for Microsoft to, if they play their cards right.
Yeah.
This is if they play their cards right. It's a good
Right.
opportunity for them to just show their cards, and like E3, they got their own building next door. You think
Yeah.
they're not going to be showing off the new Xbox and making Sony look bad? Now,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think PlayStation is going to be fine financially. People are going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. But
Yeah.
I think what they're really missing out on here is that face-to-face interaction with their players. And
Right.
that's invaluable. It's an idiotic reason. So I don't know. That's my opinions on it.
I know, I agree, but I think what Mona was saying is facts too. It's like, as a reporter, journalist, anybody who's interviewing, it's really hard to try and like dig deeper, other than you try to make assumptions of why, right? Because again, when you're trying to sit there with the company, and they're literally saying like, "Hey, this outbreak is why we're not there. We're taking our employees." Like, you can't really, as like a reporter, journalist, you can't do anything more than just take notes, because you can't like push back and like, well, is that really the reason? So I think
the public, we're never gonna know.
It's the perfect get out of Joe free path, which is crazy.
Yeah. I think they're just being especially cautious this generation. I think that Microsoft learned a lot from their mistakes, and I still think that Sony's playing everything super close to the vest right now, just because especially because the pricing is supposed to be a concern for them for the PS5 right now, and maybe they just don't want to get bombarded with questions and speculation at the event. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I saw one report saying that they were only going to make like $20 a console or something.
I think they're just comfortable. I think that's what it comes down to.
Could be. Sony has been arrogant before.
Yeah,
that's a lot of questions, and there could be a lot of questions that they don't have real answers to, because the answers could end up being completely different to whatever actually is happening. So the pricing thing is quite a big thing at the moment. So it's like, oh, how much would it be? It's like, we can't say, but it will, and then it'll lead on to complications that they're not willing to face. So maybe there's just lots that they are avoiding.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, one thing I hope that does happen is, again, this is Sony's decision, but not necessarily the developers, right? Not the Naughty Dogs, not the Square Enixes. So one thing that I do hope that happens is the Final Fantasy VII demo has just been sitting on the store for God knows how long. So maybe this gets a push to have that come out faster, since they're not going to be representing at this week's show. That's kind of why I'm crossing fingers for.
That would be their best bet, just to sort of, if they had anything to show, then show it like early, or release a demo early, like to sort of say sorry and make up for people, like certain things. Josh is thinking about something there.
I don't think we're getting an apology.
I'm just thinking, like, what if this is all like strategy on their part? Like, what if out of nowhere they're like, "Oh, we're not going to show up at PAX," and they wait for Microsoft to drop some bomb, and then they just redirect all the attention with some massive online reveal or directors.
Yeah, exactly.
I would put that kind of a move past Sony.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat were like, "State of play, day after PAX confirmed," kind of thing. So
the state of plays typically, in my opinion, have been kind of unimpressive, though.
Yeah, like compared to Switch.
Like, they're presenting it. Like, they have a PS5. They're going to be presenting it on State of Play, but you're not going to have people at these events that are going to be able to be hands-on with it and reporting on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't make sense.
I think, if you're definitely like something for, like, to say Xbox, for example, with Kinect, like, they revealed that to people at E3, and then you get these people who come on stage and do these stupid, like, pretend to make it look like the software actually works. But those, like, I say memes, but like those topics and things that people find interesting and fun to talk about go a long way. Like, so if you're just going to be on State of Play and be like, "Oh, here is our PlayStation," like with a robot talking, people are not going to be like, "Oh, do you remember when PlayStation did this?" Because like it doesn't go the same way with memory, because you're sort of presenting it as like more like a business rather than something that people are engaged in as a group.
Yeah.
So it's like,
this is just such an interesting pivot, because if I think back to 3 years ago, 2017. When they were ramping up for God of War and Spider-Man and some of their big releases, their tentpole releases this generation, I remember covering all of it. They were not only at E3, they were at all the PAXs. They did Paris Games Week. They did Tokyo Game Show. They did PSX that year. That was the last year that they had PSX. Like, there was so much Sony content. A part of me thinks, like, the way it's diminished over the past 2-3 years, especially once really they dropped out of E3 in 2018, kind of like after that, it's kind of like it's been diminishing, and even their state of plays are just, they barely, they don't even exist really.
Like, going back to when you just said, like, with Spider-Man, God of War, and even Last of Us, like, do you remember that that had a bit of backlash because it felt like for 2 years that's all they were showing? And it's like, oh, we finally have new Spider-Man gameplay. It's like, great, we saw Spider-Man last year as well.
So the reason why they got so much backlash on that is because what they were showing at these events wasn't actual gameplay or demos of the game. Like the God of War, I was mad about that one because it was literally like a walkthrough of like history. I was like, show me the damn game. Like, where is the actual demo for the game? And it wasn't the experience I was expecting. Same thing with the Spider-Man. It was just like
The puddle
Just the
gate thing.
puddles.
Yeah, it was all
Oh,
about
that
the
was
puddles.
such a
Yeah.
stupid controversy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
That was
and
ridiculous.
I
so funny,
like,
But
yeah.
Have they
Yeah.
confirmed that
puddles.
the PS5 games aren't going to be there? Or is it just Sony that's not going to be there? Like, are PlayStation 5 games from third-party developers still going to be playable?
Sony's not being there. I don't know.
So
it's
are
just
Last of Us and Final Fantasy still there to be playable, or
I don't know.
is it just a big empty space?
that was all part of the Sony booth.
Okay.
So
I mean, I would have to assume any third-party PS4 title would
Surely.
still be on the table for showcase.
If the developers themselves are like booking
Right.
like a show floor, then sure. But if it was tied in with the Sony booth, they're not going to be there.
Yeah, I can imagine, like, say,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
like,
Because if
I
there's
imagine they will.
PS5 games. Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly that. I was gonna say, I imagine that, like, so Last of Us will probably be, it will be re-released to the PS5. So I can imagine that if they was going, or if they was going to E3, they would have a PS5 version of that game there, just to show the power of it. But I imagine that because they're gone, that opportunity goes.
I mean, without Sony announcing
I don't
anything, they
think-
couldn't
I don't
even.
think
they
Even
can't.
even if you were playing the PS5 version, they probably couldn't even tell you.
They couldn't even say, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because I can imagine it's not being a big deal if I could still go there and play PS5 games or see them. But if just Sony wasn't there, maybe it wouldn't be such a big deal. But
Yeah.
I can't imagine if there's no PS5 details that Sony's providing. They're not gonna want people to play the PS5 games there. I guess I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, from last year, that's what ended up happening. Sony wasn't there, and we didn't get anything, PlayStation related. Like, as far as like other developers, they had their games, and if it was available on, Xbox console, they were showcasing it that way.
Yeah. Plus, Sony's been so cautious with the PS5; they want to control any drop in the bucket that even has the word associated to it. So before, even if a developer had even if Sony had plans to even give us one little spec at PSX or something of that nature, and a developer had planned to buddy off of that in some way, that's probably off the table just without them being present. Not that they would, because I don't think PAX, that's really the platform to do that at. I don't think there's ever been like a PAX that's happened. I'd be like, wow, the news at PAX was crazy that weekend. I honestly don't remember a situation. The things that I remember the most is Tokyo Game Show, Paris Games Week, E3. Those are kind of like the main ones that I hear stuff at. GDC for hardware. But even chat was saying that they may have dropped out from GDC as well, because that's, I think, the week after PAX happens. So that's within like the next few weeks. So if they don't show up there either, that'd be crazy.
Wonder what they're going to blame then. They're going to blame the T virus at that point.
I mean, Resident Evil 3 is very close. It's around the corner.
Exactly.
Right?
Look, there's
going to be another opportunity for them. They're probably just waiting for Xbox to say something, honestly. As far as the pricing or something.
Because the thing is, Xbox is... Go on, sorry, mate, go on.
I was just going to say that this is a completely baseless accusation, but I think it was going to lead into what you're saying. I think they have I'm sensing in my gut a little bit of lack of confidence in the console presentation. I don't know why that is, because there were some rumors coming around that the V-shaped thing that everybody kind of like, threw the slice of pizza in there may not just be a pizza warmer. It may not be the dev console. There's been even more and more images come out of it. And I think, I don't know. I sense for some reason in my jellies, I sense this weird sense of maybe lack of confidence in the hardware.
And that's interesting as well, because it's like Microsoft is showing nothing but confidence. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, look at this, we've got a mini refrigerator and you're going to love it. Like, you know what I mean? They're trying to tell you that it's the strongest console. Like, they've got this, like, they're just driving forward and talking about the power of it. And like PlayStation's there, like, I mean, the Xbox One X was powerful, more powerful than the PlayStation 4 Pro. It's like, are they, making something that's even better? You know what I mean? So they just want details themselves, I suppose, to know what they're selling.
Yeah.
And imagine if they are worried about the profit dollar to console sell ratio. Let's imagine that's a reality. If there is some sort of like apprehension or negative reception of the console, I mean, they stand to maybe lose on delivering the product if that lack of confidence on the consumer side. So I think that maybe they are playing a lot of stuff really close to the chest. And again, this is just based on speculation, but it could be because they're maybe a little scared to dip their toes in the water on it, a little scared to present. They went Microsoft maybe to make the first move, and then they'll start dancing. But I don't really know.
Does anyone remember when Sony revealed the PS3 for the first time?
Oh yeah, like it was yesterday.
Like that weird like battering controller. That thing was awful.
A part of me wanted that.
The battering controller?
Oh yeah, a part of me wanted that. I was like, "Yo, give it to me."
I'm actually gonna be
in all reality though.
If the dev kit is the actual PlayStation 5, I'm gonna be really.
I think they already confirmed though that was just a dev kit.
But I know
it's not going to look like that. There's no way.
I hope
no
that's
way.
what I'm saying. I'm going to be really disappointed if that's
PlayStation 5 Roman numeral.
If they want to succeed, they'll bring back the
same
Spider-Man
time though,
font.
like the Spider-Man font.
They got so much. They got trashed on so hard for that font. Oh no.
That
whole marketing team hasn't been there for years. They're all gone.
PS4, even the PS4 got like slated on. Do you remember when PS4 first got shown? Everyone's like, "What's this aura thing?" It's one of those. It's a slick design, but everyone's like, "Oh, it looks stupid. It's like a sandwich." It's like
we were saying it was a sandwich. I don't understand why anyone cares what a console looks like. That I don't even look at my consoles.
I was about
mine are just like in my console area, just there. I look at the screen.
Man.
I was about to bring that up. I think a lot of consumers now, or at least the ones who are really heavily invested in the console market, I think we're more concerned on what can it do. How is it going to better my experience versus maybe 10 years ago where maybe looks did matter a little bit because, that's why they've done the slim version of all of the consoles since I can remember, right? They've always gone and made it smaller, made it more like appealable, right? Even like in some cases, even kind of Nintendo's gotten away from focusing too much on that. They more focus on like what's their value that they can provide their consumers. But because, I mean, the Xbox is a
sexy.
bit... Oh, yeah. It's definitely the sexiest out of the three.
But you want to know, like, here's a perfect example. You know what looked really cool, but it was crap? The Virtual Boy. Remember the Virtual Boy?
Oh, yeah.
That thing looked awesome, but when you played it, you would just end up with a headache. That's still true today. Yeah. You can have something that looks really cool, and it's crap.
Yep.
The unfortunate thing in the hardware market, as much as is anywhere else, I mean, why does RAM have RGB? Who gives a shit? Doesn't make it go faster, but it looks good, and that does sell. Because sex does sell. I'm just being real.
Maybe that's what Sony should do. Skip packs and just have sex.
Well, or just at least give me some.
Maybe that's exactly what they're
just
doing.
Just put some string lights on there.
They're trying to contract different kinds of viruses.
On every street corner, like, "Hey, baby!" Like, it's like, "Yeah, I'm sold."
Give me that PS5.
Speaking of RGBs, I remember when I had the original Xbox, the big bulky Xbox. I put like a clear. I was real into console modding back then. I put a clear case in there. I put a bunch of LEDs inside. So every time my friends came over and we'd play in the dark, there would be a glare coming from the bottom of my TV because it would just be lighting up the whole room. It was worth it though. Had many Halo nights on that thing.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, in speaking about sexiness and sex appeal, that kind of brings us into our next subject. Persona, as you guys may know, is it's a little bit of a sexy game, and the developers at Atlus are deciding to change it, and they don't care what you think; they're gonna do it anyways because of a vocal minority. Chris, what the hell am I talking about?
Well, what the hell you're talking about is that Atlus is changing 2 controversial scenes in Persona 5 Royal. I think by definition it is. Atlus has confirmed that certain scenes in Persona 5, which were considered homophobic and offensive by quote-unquote many fans, will be updated and altered in the Western release of Persona 5 Royal. Speaking to IGN during a Persona 5 Royal preview event, Atlus Communications Manager Ari Dracula, I'm going to go with Dracula, it looks like Dracula, explained that dialogue in certain scenes, specifically ones involving Ryuji and 2 effeminate male characters, would be changed so that these men were no longer shown in a quote-unquote negative light. Mm-hmm. We actually were able to go through, this is a quote, we were actually able to go through some of the lines that players may not have received as well, look at that feedback, and then update it for the current generation. Basically, the dialogue in these scenes have been widely criticized since Persona 5's Western launch for a variety of reasons. Many fans consider the depiction of these characters to be offensively stereotypical, presenting the most prominent homosexual characters in Persona 5 as extremely sexually aggressive towards a minor, no less, and intentionally ridiculous as well. So, with that being said, I mean, what does the group sort of think about this? I mean, is this censorship? Is it not censorship? Have you seen it happen to games you love? And should games be changed to meet an audience?
Okay, yeah. Oh, this is a subject for me.
Yeah, this is a big one.
Like, when we're talking about, so what do you mean, like homophobic? Are they like overly flamboyant?
So there are a couple. So what happens in the scene is you and your buddy, so Ryuji and the main character, the two characters, they're going to the movies and they come out. When they come out of the movies, these two, I don't want to say flamboyant, but they're probably they're scratching on the line of. They come and they hit on him and they say basically, if he wants to go and have a good time, et cetera, et cetera. And you as the main character, you have a couple of different dialogue options to basically head him on. Like, hey, yeah, go ahead and have a good time if you want. Or you could choose, something that's a little bit more mild. But ultimately, it's just meant for comedic purpose. They shoo them away and then
that's the end of the scene.
That's the end of the scene. It's probably like a 60-second scene.
So it's interesting because it's like, they could easily just be male prostitutes, and that's just that. What I mean?
Like, I think about it this way: it's like, well, what if it was a female character instead of, the dude? Then now it's not so offensive. Like the whole point was it was just a light joke, that they wanted to add in there, to add in humor, and the fact that everyone wants to bitch about it over here. It's like, dude, just let the developer plan it out like how it was intended.
Yeah, if it's for a joke and it's in comedy purpose, like there's a comedy purpose behind it, then that's totally understandable. Like,
the
don't get me wrong, I do.
There's going to be that person that gets offended, and those are the people crying about it.
And it's one of those things, especially overly flamboyant characters have become like, it's seriously outdated, especially in the last 5 years. To have a guy be like, "Hello, guys," like it's like that is immediately. People are like, "Oh, what? Because he's gay, he has to be like that." Like, I get that, but it's one of those. It's like, but if that's their character and that's how
you wrote that character,
that wrote for that scene, that comedy, then that people like that exist. People like Alan Carr, who's a comedian in the UK.
Yeah,
it's very flamboyant. He's very in that way, and that's just how he is. Like, but these are just characters who can be more comedic, and so I suppose if people are getting offended by it, then that's just people who are just going to get offended. But I think to censor something like that because people are offended because they're overly flamboyant and because they're asking your character for a good time is, I don't know. I think it's a bit silly. Like,
kind of think like the actual fan. I'm not a Persona fan. I've never played it, but just my input on that.
Yeah.
With most of these things, usually it's not actually fans of the property that are the ones that are offended. It's usually people defended on their behalf, and everything you guys said sounds like Japan just being Japan.
Absolutely.
Japan does a bunch of weird shit. I mean, that's how it is with Japanese games and anime and all this, and like the whole thing about like so. Apparently, the men, they look a bit effeminate. Is that a point of controversy?
Not even. They look like
that's
Yakuza
most anime dudes.
They look like Yakuza characters. When they're walking around wearing their shirt, they have like one button. They just look like dudes. But the way the dialogue is where people are having the issue, not necessarily.
Because how old is your character?
17.
High schooler, yeah.
But obviously, what's the legal age in Japan?
I think it's still 18. I think.
I don't even think that was the conversation. Like the issue, it was just pretty much like
no one's
like
arguing towards the underage.
No one's okay with the grown men asking a 17-year-old date.
So here's the thing. So you guys kind of heard like a brief summary of what it is, right? And Atlus, they're bending at the knee. They're changing it. But I want to let you guys know another scene in the same game. There is a teacher who's going out with a high school student, and he causes her to attempt to commit suicide. And in this new version of the game, in this palace, because the dungeons that they have, he's a boss battle, he summons a faux version of this girl who's like his slave. But that's all fine. But this scene that I didn't even remember existed because it's so insignificant
It's like
is what they're
not
betting at
even
the
a
need
minute
for,
long.
and they're changing.
Yeah.
I think from a business point of view, I get it, because looking from the outside in, there's going to be some game journalist somewhere that's going to make some headline saying that they're homophobic or whatever. They're going to make some kind of headline just to get some clicks on their website. So I get from a
Absolutely.
business point of view, them trying to make some changes. But anytime, see, here's the problem with people getting offended over things in video games. If you change one thing, they're going to start picking apart other things, like you just said. You know, why is one thing okay and the other isn't? Instead of just having the original vision of the creators there. And like, to me, I don't get offended about anything if it's in media. If it's fake, I'm not going to get offended by anything. You do whatever you want as long as it's fake. So it's the environment we live in now. It's people getting offended for the sake of others, when the actual fans probably don't even care. Like, Josh, you're a Persona fan. Do you care?
I don't. I mean, I haven't played that piece of it, so I don't really have the full context there for how it plays out. I would not be likely to be offended. I mean, I've seen flamboyant characters in other video games and didn't really find it offensive or anything. I mean, everyone's gonna have different opinions. As far as like who's most likely to get upset about this, I think they have the right to make the change if they want to internally. It might have been that some of the fans of the game were the people that worked on it that disagreed with the decision in the first place. It seems like a pretty big change, but you know, are they within their rights to change it? Yes. As far as what precipitated it, maybe it's just widespread outrage. Maybe they just got a lot of personal fan mail from dedicated Persona fans who did take it.
It's definitely go on. Sorry, go on.
No, but even if they did, remember, it's a remake of a game that already exists. This scene already exists. This game has already sold millions of copies, and there's people, the offended people, if they bought the game, because like Gamer Thumb said, they're probably not even actual fans of the game. They just, they're the ones who are bandwagoning this cause. But it's already out there. This is
that makes it even more pointless.
Yeah, but at the same time, this might be like if you're just going to like Best Buy and you're like, oh, I heard people talk about Persona before. That sounds like maybe that would be a game that I want to check out. And that's going to be their first experience with it.
Yeah.
Maybe because a lot of people who play Persona 5 Royal are people who have never played a Persona game at all before, or they're people that were like, I've seen this song and dance before. I'm going to hold off for the complete version of Persona when it comes out.
And that happens.
And maybe,
that happens. But Vice.
That's why.
I feel like it's definitely more about representation. Like, is there any LGBT characters in the game? Like any main characters? Like
none that how I don't know if you're familiar, but Atlus is their very old school mentality. There's none that they outwardly represent. They kind of they scratch at they could be, but they don't actually like definitively say it.
I think that's where the problem lies. Like, it's because you said they scratch at they could be. It's one of those, if you're showing these two flamboyant men who I can imagine are wearing short shorts, for example, like it's a stereotype that people in the LGBT community get sick of.
Yeah,
it's I have a lot of very close LGBT friends and such, and it's like I've met my dad, for example, is overly flamboyant. Like, so I know these people exist, and that's okay. But it's like games can do a better job at representing that. It's like for example, it's one of those. It's funny to have these flamboyant characters in. So for example, Bully. I made a video on it actually not too long ago. Bully, it represents the LGBT way in that your character can experiment kissing boys and girls, and there's these characters who are also very openly gay, and you can see them walking around holding hands with other boys. But there's also characters who are stereotypes of that. But it's okay to have that double, that representation of the reality and then the comedy just for goofs. And I feel like that's the part that they're just doing it for goofs. And it's like, but there is a reality to it that people want to see, especially 2020, 2019. It's one of those maybe. Yeah, I
think. And I do understand that piece of it. And can they do a better job of representing, certain groups of people and, what they want to see represented in games? Absolutely. I think where my concern or kind of why my worry comes is once you, especially when it comes to a game that already exists, but once you open the door to a community who is rabid at getting something changed, naturally they're going to want the next thing changed, right? Because like I said, this game already is extremely controversial. And Atlus, they're a company who are a very old school mentality, right? They make their games very like, you know, girls in bikini, more jiggles for the wiggles. You know what I mean? They do these things intentionally. So they're just opening the door for more scrutinizing, backlash from consumers to potentially try and get something else changed. And then, you know, whatever it is, you're sacrificing their artistic expression, even if that artistic expression is shit. We've seen movies probably misrepresent certain things or people wrong, right? Especially when it comes to like race and things of that nature. But are they going to suddenly go back and change the movie before it hits Blu-ray? No, that's just you like it or you don't.
I think it's
George Lucas. I mean,
several times. But like, I think, it's interesting as well because it's something that's important for them as well. Because what I think they're seeing is a change in their audience. Like though it may be a handful of people, that's still they listened to that handful of people. So now they know the next time around that these people are here. So whether or not they represent those people, or but it's that if you say they're quite old school in their way of making, then it's down to them to just sort of evolve with their audience rather than feeling left behind from people who are just getting with the times.
I'm gonna read it. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think the important thing about this topic is whether I guess it's okay to censor the game or not.
Yeah.
And my whole thing, I think the whole censorship thing, I think it's a cultural thing. Because, I mean, look at it, Japan's trying to be careful with things. Like Square Enix, they just opened up like some department for sensitive something, where now they're going to go through and censor some games like Devil May Cry even on 5.
Yeah. Oh, really?
On the PlayStation, on the PlayStation version, they put glare over Trish's butt crack for like a second.
Oh, yeah.
Just to censor. So things like that are just at the same time, I think people over here in the States get a little too they're real quick to yell censorship. Yeah. Also about small things, like for example, when they came out the Final Fantasy, what was it, the 7 HD version that just came out.
Okay.
They had what's the summon Shiva? Like they censored like her underwear.
Oh, they changed the design, didn't they, or something? People
like her underwear was showing like too much or something. People instantly yelled censorship because they added to it. I think the censored version, for lack of a better word, I think it looks better. Like from a design point of view, I think it actually looks improved. So situations like that, I think where it improves the design of a game, I think is fine instead of just yelling censorship. But yeah, I think it's a cultural thing because in Japan, like they have certain things like they can't show like, what is it, like decapitations in Japan and in media. And over here, you play Resident Evil 4 and Leon gets his head chopped off.
Yeah, so that's different between the two versions. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely a cultural thing when it comes to that because you don't see a lot of games over here come out, US made games that are censored. It just doesn't happen much over here.
To speak to that end, I mean, Atlus has gone on to describe that Royal is a quote-unquote chance to make it right, is how they're describing the move. But which brings us to another point is that Atlus told fans that they shouldn't give up hope for a Persona 5 port to Switch, and that it's not something that'll never happen. And with Persona 5 porting to Switch, are we going to see that? Are we going to see that same move in the full-on port to a new product? And if so, is that okay? And if not, why is it okay to do it over here and then just deliver the full package over there as well?
That happens too.
They were actually doing that thing where they tell fans to keep asking for it, right?
Yep.
Yes.
That bugs me so much. I don't know why I get
too.
really annoyed when publishers are like, "Oh yeah, just keep telling us how bad you want it." Like I don't know why. Like at that point, I immediately don't want to do anything to express my desire for a game. Like we get it, you have a popular product, but clearly there's a desire for it. You've known this has been the case for years. You really don't need to rub salt in the wounds by telling people to ask harder. Like I feel like
it's
that's
a marketing thing, though, isn't it? Like to get it trending and.
I know, but I don't know. Just saying it overtly though just feels condescending to me. Like, if anything, just keep putting out surveys. We'll keep telling you what we want. You don't have to tell us to tell you what we want.
The thing that bothers me most when companies do this is It's Atlus America who is saying, just keep asking for it, guys. That division of Atlus makes zero decisions. Everything comes from Atlus Japan. That's headquarters. So what's going on what platform is completely up to Japan to do it or not. So the fact that they're coming out and saying, just keep asking for it, that literally does nothing because Japan is the one that makes all the decisions with this specific company. So that makes me even more frustrated.
The one thing I could see, and I don't know if this matters at all, unless they have to see a demand in the West, unless they have to literally make a case for the port. But again, at the same time, Atlus would be distributing that in Japan. So,
I mean, they put Persona 5 on the PS3. They put Catherine on the Vita, and they did this in Japan where when Catherine, the new remake came out last year. How many people are still rocking their Vitas in Japan, right? They've all, as the numbers have come out each week, everybody in Japan basically owns a Nintendo Switch. So, now that they're making it right. Catherine's coming to the Switch. It's coming this year. So they are making that right. They are going to, it's showing more face that they are going to have more games come to the Switch. But it's just a very interesting message that they're sending is keep begging, guys. They'll listen eventually,
I mean, to be fair, that's how we got the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes. And they asked people to ask for it.
Yeah.
And people asked for it, and now they made it.
Yeah.
It works for some things, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, Resident Evil 2 came out. It sold like bonkers, and now we're getting 3, right? So I mean,
I think we're going to get a whole reboot or remake. I think they're reboots. People call them remakes, but it's like no, they're totally different games. I think we're going to see that happen up till 4, and then they're not going to do it.
Code Veronica.
That is my exact prediction.
I need Code Veronica. I need it.
Expect Code Veronica. For some people want 4, it's not happening.
It's
4 and up's not getting
too
touched.
early. It's too early.
Also, what they do with the games, though, I really love is they are remakes, but they're kind of reimaginings in the same type. I freaking love that. And that engine, the engine that this game's run on, it's freaking butter. It's so good. It's so great to look at. When we played Resident Evil,
I just want to see Dead Rising on the engine.
When we played RE2 the other night, I just wow, this game looks great. You know what I mean? It just
you can take Resident Evil 7 for it. That's the one that started making the ultra realistic looking Resident Evil characters instead of more like semi-anime looking characters.
You can thank Resident Evil 7 or you can thank P because that's what they were going for. They were like that ultra realism. Everyone wants it. Let's go.
And then DMC5 runs on that engine too, and DMC5 is fantastic.
Looks amazing.
It's like the thing that's the thing about the RE engine that surprises me the most. It's like how many different genres it can do, like from a first-person shooter to an over-the-shoulder, and then to an over-the-top action like hack and slash. It's like this engine.
Wait till we get Dino Crisis remake.
Dino Crisis
in that engine,
or Dead Rising. Like, imagine Dead Rising, all the zombies just like clapping on each other. It'd be so good. I'm so ready.
Beautiful Joe on that engine. Give it to me. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, please.
That would look terrible.
Under the
skin. Beautiful Joe needs to stay cartoony / comic book graphics.
Can you imagine that? Oh.
I just want Beautiful Joe.
It'd be like, oh my god, it'd be like the original version of the Sonic movie. Where they made him look.
Oh man.
Not a fan of that.
So overall, make sure if you want it, all you gotta do is ask for it, and developers are gonna give it to you. So just ask. Just keep doing it on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere else. Mono, what's the next subject on the night?
Well, the next subject for tonight is what's in your wallet?
Ooh.
Do you have enough money? What are you willing to spend on a PS5 or Xbox Series X? This is an article coming from Bloomberg. Because Sony is struggling to keep costs down on the PlayStation 5 as the console hurdles towards its big debut later this year. Bloomberg is reporting that the cost to build the machine has risen to $450 per unit, a big increase on the PS4's $380 per unit. The financial outlets analysts are saying that the sticker price for the new console could be close to $470, which could be a hard sell for cash-strapped buyers. The report says that Sony is struggling to secure DRAM and flash memory in quantities necessary for mass production of the unit. And the PS5's component costs are higher than other machines because, for instance, it has a pricier cooling system to avoid its internals from boiling. Bloomberg's sources also say that we can expect a new PSVR headset to debut either alongside or shortly after the PS5. That strikes me a little bit interesting because I do know flash RAM and DRAM were at an all-time world low about, I don't know, like 2-3 years ago. But SSD prices are phenomenally low. RAM isn't bad. I was just looking at my 16 gigabyte RAM kit. It's like $130. I'm just a little confused why that's their price point issue is in the flash memory.
I think this is really interesting because I was actually digging into this the other day. From what I saw, a lot of it has to do with the cooling system. Like the actual cooling system they're putting in there is going to be way more advanced than the PS4s because the PS4 is notorious for getting extremely hot and extremely loud, depending on what you're playing and how long it's been on.
Yeah.
So with the PS5, it cost them like originally like $1 for the cooling system parts, and then they increased it to $2 because they wanted a better cooling system. But think about that. It's only $1 more, but when you're trying to manufacture millions and millions and millions of consoles, that's another couple $1 million you're adding onto your production budget. So I can see how the price is inflating like that, and they're struggling to keep, especially if they're trying to avoid problems.
Well, as generations advance, and just you see it in computers, what used to be, I've got a solid gaming rig with 4 gigabytes of RAM turns into 8 gigabytes of RAM, turns into 16, turns into now we've seen stuff like Battlefield 5 on PC benefit from 32 gigabytes of RAM, which quite frankly, for your day-to-day user, nobody's out there buying probably 32 unless you're an enthusiast level. At the same time, when we see consoles scaling with the PC demands, you are going to see that those banks need to be larger as well. Like I don't know. Do we have a confirmation? Is it going to have 16 gigabytes?
No, the rumor right now, and this is complete rumor because none of these have been solidified, is at the Series X 16 gigs with 4 gigs dedicated to run the OS.
The GPU.
And the PS5 18 gigs of RAM, which is a really odd number. That's why I say these are very rumor based. Again, with 4 gigs to run the OS. These are all the rumor numbers that have been circulating right now.
Well, the pools are larger, which does increase the cost. Regardless, if you're going to give it more, then it's going to increase the cost. I know that they've, as I spoke before about the confidence in the system, I think that they're maybe a little bit worried about the profit margin.
Yeah.
It's costing them about $450 to manufacture right now, is what they're saying.
That's what they're saying, yeah.
Because PlayStation 3 was $600, and they were really going around that one because that one, I remember back then they were talking about it costing $1,000 to manufacture.
Yep.
Like back then because of the Blu-ray drive.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like the highest price point I would pay. See, it's hard for someone that does content creation full time to be like, what's the highest I pay? Because I have to get the console. People on the channel expect me to cover it.
Yeah.
But I think the highest reasonable, and I use the term reasonable lightly, the price is $600. That's on the high end. If it balloons up to $700, I think at that point they're just in absolute trouble. Like there's no way they could price it at that. 600, I think they could get away with, but they're going to have a really slow start, like the PS3. PS3 had a really slow adoption rate the first year. But then again, they had the lower $500 model too. We're not going to get that this time. I highly doubt it. And I think that's completely unnecessary. Just come out with your console, price it at whatever. But I think the most it should be is 600. I don't think it's going to be 500. I think the Xbox will be 500.
I think the Xbox will be
both of them are 5.
Yeah.
I think if the Xbox is 500, Sony would be mental to price theirs any higher because people will get the Xbox over the PS5 because of that reason. Not everyone's an early adopter that'll shell out hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a console, you know.
I've already safely saved the money to get both of them already. So like whatever I don't care, I will buy them. But obviously, not everyone is a proper gaming enthusiast.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So on a personal level, company. So it's hard to say. So company, I think to have a mass appeal, to hit the ground running, essentially, The price point that they need to shoot for is $399. I don't think it's gonna happen, just because of all these reports. But again, that's neither of these companies are strangers to taking a loss to get hardware out there, because as we know, hardware isn't where the money comes from; it's the software.
Yeah.
So even with $399, even if they were to lose $100, $200 on every product sold, that's not out of the realm of possibilities. Again, because and then you have the ebb and flow of what does the parts in the box actually cost, right? Because as it ebbs up, it flows down, then their manufacturing cost does that as well, right? So it could cost them $450 to manufacture a day, but if RAM prices, SSD, fans, instead of $2, it costs them 75 cents. As those go down, so does the cost. So there's I'm sure there's a whole team, a whole slew of people who are arguing in rooms constantly about what to price this thing at. And I think for Sony, part of it's what's Xbox going to do. But I think $399 if they want to have mass appeal. $499 is like a middle ground. I think that it'll sell, but not as well, obviously, as if it would have come out at $399. And if they do $599,
Good luck.
that's gonna be a
in
very
trouble.
It's a real slow start.
it's gonna be a very hard thing. And again, I'm in the same boat as you guys. Like we're picking it up day one, regardless. If they tell me it's $700, I'm there. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. But I'm there because of the same reasoning. Is we're on that higher echelon of enthusiasts, and the content that we put out we would need that.
Yeah.
But again, for your average consumer, like $599 is just a hard number to swallow, and especially because the SSD, a terabyte might be what it's going to come with, and the file sizes that we're probably going to be dealing with next generation, they're going to have some kind of upgrade system. There's going to be something that you have to do to have more memory, right? You need to have an external hard drive or something else.
I think they're just going to do what we have, just external hard drive.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good solution, because, I mean, why are they going to invest in, figuring out how to have like a 8 terabyte internal hard drive and spend the money manufacturing that, when they could just sell you a console and tell you to just go buy a cheap external hard drive and plug it in, Because it saves them money.
Here's the kicker, though. All that I've been reading a lot of articles, and a lot of the developers are talking about how they're going to make games on the next generation based off SSD, based off the read and write speeds of SSD. So honestly, we might be going into a generation to where you can't just go get your cheapy $50 external hard drive. It might need to be an external SSD hard drive that's maybe even proprietary. They might nickel and dime us to the very bad degree.
Well,
If they do that, I think that's console suicide. Because
I'm
Vita
just
tried.
saying.
It's already going down that hill already.
No, that can't. The Vita, the memory cards alone. I mean, that killed the
I
Vita.
know.
I don't think.
If they throw Type C on it, Type C USB, they'll be fine. The data rates on that are insane, and you can get a 1 terabyte solid state drive for about $100 now on the cheap end. Which
What? For a solid state drive?
for a solid state 1 terabyte, go check out.
Oh, okay. Sorry. No. I was thinking
Yeah.
of never mind. I was thinking of
Right.
multiple terabytes. I was like, I have not seen it that cheap. Never mind.
No. You can get a terabyte for about $100. So yeah, it's going to be more on the expensive side, but at the same time, it's feasible. But yeah, it's going to be rough if they're rocking some older USB format, because you're not going to get the speeds that you need with the solid state drive anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. But again, my number, just going back, $399 sweet, $499 fine, $599 that's tippy top.
I think $399 would be a great price. Based on everything that's supposedly in the PS5, I think it's crazy that they're going to price it at that. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be $500. I'm calling $499.
If either of the companies though come out at $399, whichever one, they're taking the lead out the gate. Again, it becomes
absolutely.
It becomes about software.
Yeah.
It becomes very much relative to software.
Yep.
But at least for Xbox, we know day and day Halo's going to be there. Halo and $399 new box.
Yeah, and it's confusing as well why Sony are just not put. If they've got pricing issues and they're afraid of making their money back, why are they doing so bad with marketing now? Like, they're not selling it to anybody. You know?
Yeah, they're gonna have to be willing to operate in the red for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to.
That's just gonna, but that's normal consoles. That's like all consoles operate in the red for a while until they make all the money back with software and the subscriptions and all the other crap that you get with consoles.
Yeah. YP2, you've been awfully quiet. What you got over there? What's your number? What's your cash flow looking like?
I think it's gonna launch at 500. I would be surprised to see it go up to 700. 600 is a possibility. 500, I think, is where they're gonna land. I think they're gonna try to pack so much just power into it, and I think that they're gonna have to. I don't think it'll be as bad as the PS3 because you're right. Like adoption was slow in the first year, and then not helping at all was the marketing. Who was it? I can't remember who on their team said, "Oh, I want people to work 2 jobs to afford our system." Nobody wants to hear that.
That was Ken
Ken
Kutaragi or whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah, a horrible thing to say.
Yeah.
And you know, I would imagine it's going to be 500. That's my prediction. I don't think that they'll, and I think because Gamerthon had said this previously, I don't think they'll launch with 2 models. Because at first I thought that might make sense, but then it also does sort of create a split where I think people just naturally gravitate to the best one, and then you just have a bunch of shelves filling up with like, you know, the lesser model. Yeah, I mean, if they're going to be forward thinking, then they have to think about maybe they're going to move away from being sort of consumer hostile when it comes to their media, because that's not just like a Sony gaming thing. Like Sony's always tried to win format wars, even as far back as like the mini disc. Whenever that came out, they tried to make that the new thing, which was an awesome format, by the way. Sad it didn't take off. It was cool. But, you know, if they're forward thinking, then they'll try to be a little bit more consumer friendly, I think, and allow you to. Because I mean, again, like the size requirements alone for games are going to be just unprecedented as we just, you know, move further into the future. So I would hope that they would not be like, oh yeah, you can have higher capacity hard drives or something as long as you're willing to shell out a huge Sony premium to use our proprietary nonsense. But yeah, I'm sticking with 500. I think that's where they're going to land.
I don't think they are going to have a proprietary anything because I think
I don't either.
Companies learn from mistakes, and that was a mistake with the Vita. They had to have learned from.
Right.
You know what I'm curious about though, that hasn't been even talked about at all, is the PS5 going to have a 4K Blu-ray player? Because the PS4 Pro does not, which makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
because
I think they're nixing the Blu-ray.
Xbox Series X is going to.
Yeah, well, the Xbox One X, the Xbox One S does.
Yeah.
So, like, why doesn't the PS4 Pro, when it's advertised as a 4K console, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's a bit mental.
So
it just doesn't make sense.
the reason why I think they're getting rid of like just the Blu-ray just in general is, I mean, with them finally closing down PlayStation Vue, I think they're just getting rid of any type of like streaming type service, like content wise, like that, right? And they're refocusing on video games. Like that's what they're building their console to be, is just to focus on their video games. Like yeah, I don't know.
But they're still gonna have physical games though, and they're on Blu-ray discs. So, I mean, it's gonna have a Blu-ray player, you know. But like, is it gonna play Ultra HD Blu-rays? You know.
And also, they're talking about the VR as well, and they're saying that the next PlayStation VR is going to revolutionize VR. But
I hope it's wireless.
The thing is, VR's been
VR's
working at a crazy rate on PC anyway. You know, I've still got the first released model of the Oculus Rift, and it's like I'm willing to pay, you know, the £1,000 I need to spend to update it, because VR is definitely the future of gaming. So it's like, and they clearly have the idea of innovating that and focusing on that. How are they going to sell that? You know, if they're talking about it being more, you know, more upgraded and better than Oculus or even whatever PC has at the moment, and that costs, you know, over £1,000 pounds. What are they expecting people to spend on this? Like,
is it the future of gaming though?
It is, but it's one of it's at a state right now.
We should debate that.
It's a piece of the future of gaming.
Yeah.
It's a piece of it.
I think it's a future
even
genre.
I can't even handle VR. Like it's.
Unless you can insert surgically something into my brain to where I can be in the world, I don't know if it's gonna suddenly be
That might be the PS5. You don't know. You just don't know.
Leave them alone.
Then you know what?
Don't listen to
PlayStation,
them,
name a number and I'm there.
Think about VR. Like, all right, I played Resident Evil 7 the whole way through in VR.
You're
Like,
crazy.
it's the premier VR experience that I've had. But I played it for like 5-6 hours straight, and I'm fine. One of my buddies came over, and within like half an hour, he was nauseous for like a
It
week.
is different for people.
Like, some people just can't. They
Yeah,
can't handle it.
I can.
I can't.
Go on.
I demoed it, just VR, just in general, for my first time at, what was it, PSX?
Yeah,
like
maybe.
a couple years ago, and apparently I'm just not one of the type of people that can just deal with VR. I had it on for like 5-10 minutes, and I was sick for the rest of the day, and I was like, never again. I refuse.
Yeah, I spent 9 hours tops in a game in VR, and I was just playing it for ages, and I didn't feel a thing. And then the one day I was playing a game, and I put it on for 10 minutes, and I was like violently like heaving. I was like, it's one of those. I think it is just down to optimizing it properly and developers and like using the safe like they're finding better ways to safeguard it and make people be a little bit more comfortable when playing it. But it's still experimental. And it's like, there's so many good, like, the Walking Dead game, for example. There's so many good games out there that are worth people to play, but it's not getting, it can't get the right amount of like praise or, even coverage because no one can afford it, and if PlayStation expected it to be the next updated system.
It needs to go more. It needs to go more mainstream too. Because you know how like they talked about VR being like experiences like watching a movie, seeing a concert, watching sports. I think once VR starts to kind of capitalize on that market of like your not gamer, but like your consumer who, watches media. I think once we start seeing that, I think we'll start seeing more VR innovation. And then once we start seeing more VR innovation, I think we'll start seeing more optimization for the broader audience who might get into VR. But dude, I think that's like a decade away.
Really?
I agree with you, Dom, actually, on that, because let me tell you why I think VR is not the future anytime soon. I think gamers are lazy, including myself. We're lazy. We want everything to be convenient.
Yeah.
On PlayStation VR, because I have it, and I never touch it because every time I think about what I need to do just to get a game going, I go to a regular game where I don't have a bunch of wires that I got to mess with. I have the original PSVR that doesn't pass through HDR, so I got to unplug it from my receiver, mess around with the wires just to get the video signal out. It's a whole nother mess if I want to record the gameplay on top of that.
Oh, man.
And then you got to wear the headset, and then the PlayStation camera. You have to calibrate it with it. All that, like, I just want to.
Annoys me the most. Like,
I want to press a button. I want to play a game.
Everyone talks about VR, and like even just do that. Everyone talks about VR, and they're like, "Yeah, I played PlayStation VR." It's like PlayStation VR has been outdated for as long as the first Oculus Rift has been out. Like,
that's true. Also,
it's bloody terrible. Like, anyone who goes, "Oh, I played VR, not like it because I played PlayStation 5," it's like, no, you played like the dev kit of VR. Like, it's completely something different now. It's slicker. It's more comfortable. It's easier to set up. You just stick a HDMI in it. That's it. It's like
Yeah,
like,
Nathan. Go ahead.
Go on.
Oh no! Remember, I was talking to you about this not that long ago. I was asking you about like the Rift or the Quest, the wireless one.
The Oculus Rift S.
Yeah, that's cool. If all VR can just be like that, where it's just this wireless standalone piece,
and you calibrate all through your head, like you don't have to set up things. Like
that's how I think when VR is going to go mainstream. Because, like I said before, gamers are lazy; they like convenience. I don't want to mess around with so many things, but if there's just a headset I could put on, hit the game and go, I think that's when VR is going to take off. So I'm hoping that's where PS5 is going.
The other part too, man, is honestly for me on a personal level, the reason I haven't invested into VR isn't necessarily like, oh, I get nauseous. Some games get to me a little bit, but for the most part I can play. It's the software. There's not that it game. What's the it game that like I have to play? Everybody I talk about, even that game, like I have a buddy at work who has played Resident Evil 7. He's like, oh, it's fantastic, and I'm just like, but the game doesn't necessarily. The game itself, I don't think it doesn't appeal to me very much. I tried it. I was like, I'm gonna skip this Resident Evil 7. So for me, it's like I need that God of War, that Spider-Man, that Horizon, that generational game.
There's
to be
two
VR
at the moment.
only.
Walking Dead and Boneworks, they're definitely worth your time.
Vader.
Like, Yeah, Vader is pretty good. Like if you like Star Wars, then hell yeah.
No love for Beat
I
Saber.
want it so bad.
But no, Beat Saber and Pistol Whip.
Savages.
Like if you need to work out those
Keep
two,
hearing
like
Pistol Whip's
Pistol
so
Whip,
good.
Pistol Whip is just Beat Saber with guns. So it's just but yeah, no, like I said, it is just because people are lazy. Like to play Walking Dead is great. I like sneaking around, but it means I've got to actually crouch to look into cupboards. You know, the game's physics requires you to pretend the things are heavy. So when you're picking up an action, it's like, why do I have to put this effort in to play like it? But it's that immersion, and it's like,
I know what you mean though about the games.
Even then, though, when you're explaining it to me, I feel like you're explaining an experience. When can I jump in and play a 100-hour weeaboo JRPG that appeals to me? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you're like, oh, you can feel the weight of something. Like, I don't care. My Joy-Con has a HD rumble, and I can feel weights in that. I never use that crap. I don't need an experience. I need like a wide appeal game that's gonna be like, I need to play it. I
understand your frustration with what you're saying, because as an early adopter PlayStation VR when that came out, I was so pumped for it.
Yeah.
I started downloading games like crazy. So Resident Evil 7, amazing, grade A experience. And then I downloaded the Arkham Batman VR game, and I was, this is awesome. 40 minutes later, I was at the end credits, though.
Yeah.
So I understand your frustration. It's like, you can have all these awesome experiences, but when can I play Assassin's Creed in VR, jump from building to building, you know?
I just want to point out the beautiful irony and the I need this hits everybody experience to enjoy VR, but meanwhile goes out and gets fishing RPG. Like, bro, gotta pick one or the other.
Yo, you give me a visual novel fishing game, and I will go spend $700 on a VR headset tomorrow.
There is an Oculus fishing game or something that's actually quite popular with people.
You've got them now.
You just sit there and that's it, and that's what you do.
Checkpoints knows like every VR game in existence.
I own them all.
The best VR game isn't even out yet. And
we flash forward like a month. You flash forward like a month. You check out my Instagram, sitting over the headset and just like casting out.
Fishing again. Got a tent set up indoors.
Which, I mean, to be fair, is easier to do in the desert. You know, you don't have a whole lot of places.
Yeah.
You know, one of the worst VR games I played was on PlayStation VR. It was like $7, and it was like a Ghostbusters experience.
Oh.
I was like, man, this is going to be awesome. I kid you not, it's a 15-minute thing. And when it was like, there's no trophies. It's just like some 15-minute garbage.
I'm glad we're moving away from that. Like the word experience has just gone from VR.
No, it means you're paying for something that's not a game.
Yeah,
that's all it means.
It's rubbish. I'm so glad we're getting to a stage now where I've played VR games which can be about 12 hours, 20 hours long. It's like, it doesn't sound that long as a game, but like think about all the physical work and how much you have to engage yourself into, stabbing a zombie through the head. It's like, ugh. But now, it goes a long way.
Flip side, Half-Life Alyx did pique my interest a little bit, and
looks pretty.
I'm waiting to see what that comes out and what that does.
Is that VR?
Yeah, it's VR exclusive. Comes out next month.
I've never played a Half-Life game. That it's like
that's one of those games and do it.
Well, I have. Here's the thing, I have it.
So you probably have the orange box or something.
No, I have the orange box. I had it when it came out. I've never played it, so it's just sitting on my shelf. It's one of those games that like everyone's played, and I'm like, man, I don't know why I haven't played that game. One day.
I played the second one, but I've never played the first. But people say the first is better. So, as I say, it's a preference thing, though, isn't it? It's a generational thing.
There's actually something pretty cool. There's something on Steam called Black Mesa, which is a reimagining of the first one in modern graphics. So it's pretty fun.
I mean, last year, 2018, I jumped back into Half-Life 2 on the Xbox, the original Xbox. Had a great time. Such a good game.
Yeah.
And it looked like doo-doo. It was I had to like squint a lot. And,
yeah, that's the one. It's still dated. Needs to be remastered.
Even then, like I play Gmod, Gary's mod. So you can download obviously a lot of Half-Life models and such. The amount of work and like facial expressions, like when it's incredible to look at. It's like, man, this game's so old, but like Valve's Source Engine is so beautiful.
And then they stopped making games.
Well, I hope they get back on it now.
Turns out there's a lot less work and a lot better money in selling them.
Yes, exactly. Getting money daily by the second.
There's like printing money over there.
It's funny though what you said, Checkpoints, about like how it looks so good, like the facial features and everything in an old game like that. It's funny thinking back on old games how advanced the technology seemed at the time. Anyone remember Black for Xbox
Yeah.
and PS2,
Yes.
where everything was destructible? I remember shooting a door and it breaking in pieces and being amazed by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's such a basic thing in video games.
I remember back in the day, I used to just like shoot walls or doors just to see will it leave the bullet mark, and when it did, I'd be like, this game is fantastic. It's
I
the
did that in
most
GoldenEye.
Halo 2.
I did that.
Yeah.
Halo 2 ruined everything. It became a stage where I was like, does the body ragdoll? If they have pre-animations, I want none of that. I want ragdoll bullets interacting with the environment. I'm like, please.
Awesome.
That was like the tippy top of games. But speaking about printing money, speaking about being at the top, that's the last subject of the night. A company who knows very well about printing money and a game that does very well for them is Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing. This is. I'm gonna leave this one at Checkpoints and Cynthia over here. I know they're like the Checkpoints. You're a big Animal Crossing aficionado, you would say.
Oh, I wouldn't say that much, but
But you love it.
Has my memory? I don't even remember high school. I remember living in the wild world, and that's about it.
So with that being said, Chris, start running us through what's all this news that came out today during the Animal Crossing Direct.
We're going to have to read this one like an auctioneer because there's 11 things that we learned about Animal Crossing New Horizons from today's Nintendo Direct. So we'll do maybe about 4 or 5, and then we'll stop talking about them, do the other half there later on. So the island is going to be fairly empty in the beginning. You and 2 other residents will set up camp on a previously deserted island. Aside from nature and your tents, the only other facilities initially it will be the airport, where you can access multiplayer features, and Tom Nook's facility, where you buy and sell items. Got to make money on those desolate islands there, I guess. You'll have a smartphone full of apps. There's a new progression system as well. New Horizons goes in a slightly different direction, one that changes the structure of the game. The Nook Miles app is essentially a collection of quests. When you do things like catch a certain number of fish or collect a certain amount of twigs, you'll earn miles that go towards paying off your travel package. From what Nintendo has shown, it looks like the goals will be all things will be tied to this in the game. Familiar characters are going to be back. We got Kix, we got Gulliver, we got Isabelle, and there are going to be some different multiplayer options. One of the most unclear aspects, actually, is the multiplayer options. For local play, up to 8 people can have characters on the same Switch. They'll all have to live on the same island, however. Each player will get their own tent, house, and you have one character, or you can have one character per account use. There are also 4-player party mode, where 4 players can run around at the same time. There's some additional details on that as well. You'll need an island code to visit other players and to prevent griefing axes and shovels. You can ban those so you can't, chop other people's stuff down. Maybe something kind of like the YCOM system, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe you can set up like a passcode or whatnot. Voice and text chat require a separate app. There are no cloud saves as well, much like other big Nintendo franchises like Pokemon Sword and Shield and Splatoon. The new Animal Crossing won't support cloud saves via Nintendo Switch Online. The reasoning isn't clear, though. Nintendo does say that it is planning some kind of recovery service for those who lose their game files due to lost or damaged consoles. So that's where we are in the first half. Goodness gracious, that's already a lot. What you guys got on takeaways?
I'm just excited.
Yes.
I can't wait to jump into your own island and actually be able to customize what you want things to be.
So like out of the entire Direct, there was only like one thing that like may have been a negative thing, and that was the cloud storage. It was pretty much not being able to transfer your save from one Switch to another. Again, rooting for Dom because I was hoping that he was able to play on his normal Switch and then switch over to his Switch Lite, so that way he can continue his journey, in the Animal Crossing kingdom. But no, now he can't. So he's gonna be crying the entire time on his standard Switch, because if he ever does decide to stream this, it has to be docked. He can't do it on his handheld anymore.
Right.
So now he's restricted on doing that. I really don't care because my entire save is just going on my Animal Crossing Switch. It's not moving from there. That's what I intended it for. You know, it's just, I'm excited. I don't care. I just don't know. I just can't wait for what, 3 weeks?
That cloud stuff just sort of, it's one of those things. It's like, it just shows Nintendo's, I don't know what the word would be, but like how Nintendo can sort of fall behind on certain things. Where it's like everyone has a cloud save, you know, and everyone's able to, like, why is that all of a sudden just something that we haven't thought about in a very long time now become a problem for us to fully enjoy Animal Crossing however we want?
And I get why they did it, you know, in previous games, you know, Animal Crossing New Leaf. It was so easy to hack on the computer and break the game and just customize your village exactly how you wanted it. People were paying other people online, like on eBay, to get their islands just customized and then sent back to them, kind of thing. So I understand, like, from a development standpoint, like, why they went this route. But it does impact families, right? You know, with us being a multi-console family, like, you know, he wants to have the freedom to play however he wants to play, and now he's limited to do that.
I have heard today, actually, an interesting theory. I've never considered, I don't know how much validity it actually had, but I was talking to you know, we had a remote supervisor from out of town, and we were kind of talking about the whole save service with like Pokemon and cloud saves and whatnot. And he brought up something. He said Nintendo's a family company and mostly geared towards children, right? And his theory is that we don't get these sort of services because there's a lot of mitigation when you start integrating online services directly and modernized that impact children. And we're thinking, like, from it was presented as like harassment, predators, and this whole like other list of services that happen when you start integrating voice chat or chat features or friend features in a modern way, which is a byproduct of that. But I also don't think that's like, I don't think they had that conscious thought. I feel like that's being projected upon it.
That's a good subject, but then a lot of other games would have taken the same stance when it comes to like a simple feature like cloud saves. And the first one to not be able to do it really has been Pokemon. But Pokemon allows you to transfer locally, right? Because they understand that people have more than one Switch, right? Especially because they understand that people buy multiples of their games, right? Their most hardcore fans do. I mean, I own 3 copies of it, right? So they understand that. And again, I'm the hardcore of it. I'm that 1%, but they understand their demographic. They know their audience. Animal Crossing is huge. They should as well. And I was telling her this morning during the direct is I think they're trying to prevent something like cheating or exploitation, but I don't think they know what specifically they're trying to prevent. So they're just trying to limit what you can do to hope that they don't find out what those things become.
I think anytime I don't know anything about Animal Crossing, I'll say that, but I think just from any company that uses for the children as an excuse, usually there's something more to it than that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the outbreak, the virus outbreak.
Exactly.
It's the outbreak.
Is a get out of jail free card for the children, or we don't want to spend the money.
Yeah, and the child or I'll not say child, but underage person, you know, because their age could be varied, right? The reality is a 6-year-old's not playing Animal Crossing. If they are, they're not going to have fun after a couple hours because they're not going to know what to do. But the 14-year-old, you know, probably is playing Animal Crossing. 12-year-old, 11-year-old, you know, once they start to really get into designing and stuff like that. Maybe even like after 8, you know. I would say that's kind of, it starts to be like your demographic. Those same kids, unless their parents specifically set up their profiles, and a lot of times that doesn't happen either, they could easily just go to the eShop because it's still connected to the internet and find Panty Party. So that's not really an excuse to... Or Panzu Hunter. That's not really an excuse to limit a simple feature like cloud saves.
I agree.
Especially if little Billy and Susie, you know, you guys have one Switch that's your Smash Bros. Mario Kart Switch on your TV, and one of the kids plays there, and then they have an alternate Switch, right? So on that alternate Switch, they just want to transfer their saves so they can continue playing in their rooms and get the hell out of their parents' living room or whatever, right? I just don't understand it. And they, even in today's direct, they did a terrible job of explaining it, and you know that they have no idea what they're gonna do with this subject still, even with figuring it out. So,
well, to quickly run through the rest of the features, because there were 11, count them 11. You will be able to shape the island itself. Yes, terraforming is a thing in New Horizons. Will give you control over nature in more than aspects than its predecessor. Not only will you be able to pull weeds and chop down trees, you'll also be able to demolish cliffs, create pathways across rivers, and even build stairs and bridges. Like most other features, this won't be available right away, but it looks like it will give creative players plenty more options for customizing their island. We are Minecraft now, y'all. For better or for worse, there are going to be some connections to Pocket Camp. If you're into that, great. If not, I don't know. It's a mobile app. Expect plenty of free updates. We are going to get consistent content after release, so that's great. It's going to starting launch on Weaster Bunny. I have no idea what that means. And also, there are ghosts. During one sequence, Nintendo showed how different your island can look at night. This included a glimpse at what looked to be a ghost called a wisp. But it was a very brief encounter and a very brief exposure to it, so it's left people scratching their heads on that as well.
So,
it looks to be the most full feature Animal Crossing yet, right?
Yeah. So these, the last half of what you covered is probably like what I'm most excited about. The whole dismantling and paving your own paths and bridges and things like that, like. Geographically, I was like, holy crap, this is like next level genius. I never imagined I'd be able to have a waterfall in my town, and now I know I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna need like tri-levels and things like that. Like, I need this like to happen. I mean, like, as far as it being connected to Pocket Camp, like, I remember playing that like when it first came out for maybe like a month or so, and then like I haven't touched it since.
My best friend, she still plays it to this day. Like she's not stopped playing it. She just goes on it, plays it. So she's getting out when she gets Animal Crossing. Whether I don't know how they're going to reward people for playing that.
Yeah.
Like, but
maybe she can transfer like
items.
her items over.
Yeah.
Exclusive items.
Exclusive items. The bells you have, like.
I'm really excited as far as like the crafting goes. So like with like you saw the mugs and the decorative pillows, you can actually make your own little pixel arts and put it on there. And so it's funny because I forgot who it was. It was Sushi or Maro who had put it on Twitter as far as like the Nicolas Cage picture. And so I already have that saved, but I have like other design features from my Animal Crossing New Leaf one, because like with the paths and things like that. So you guys don't realize the path that you can put down, you can also make it from like your own art. And
I remember that.
Yeah, and so I already have some of that stuff like already pre-made in my Animal Crossing New Leaf that I can just scan and transfer into New Horizon. So it's just I'm just all over excited about it. I really don't know how excited I am as far as like the multiplayer locally. I mean, of course, me and Dom are gonna give it a try, but I'm not sure.
It's one of those. What stops people from having a docked Switch, and then like why can't? I suppose it requires split screen, but why can't that be an option? Like, or people have.
You got to think about it this way: what if it's a one console family home? So I can see the local like foreplay on that, but the problem is the screen. Even if you have it on the TV, the leader is probably going to control what you see versus like how traditionally if you play online. So if I go to your island checkpoints, I'm not limited to your one screen. I can just wander off and do whatever I please on your island. You're not going to be able to have that freedom in local co-op. So I'm really interested to see how it plays out, because if I'm limited to, X amount of trees or being stuck in your house while you decorate, I'm just gonna be bored. and I'd rather just go play another game. So we'll
yeah,
see.
yeah. And also, like with the terrain stuff as well, it's like I'm excited to see the creativity that brings. Like, people for a fact, because you can create terrains and then mountains up and put ladders, and then also, like you said, when we like in it's been in since DS, when you're drawing your own designs and then you can make it your floor. People are going to make pixel art and one-to-one maps of Zelda maps.
Yes.
Because they're just going to do that, because you have the ability to make Link's Awakening but in Animal Crossing. And that's I 100%, if they're dependent on the limit of how much you can build, if it is quite open and big, people will without doubt do that. And it's interesting to see how that's how it's going to encourage more creativity just with the tools that it's offering.
Now I do feel like it's not going to be available like in the very beginning, because it was talking about like having permits and things like that. So I feel like you do need to progress, a good ways into the game.
Yeah.
Before this is unlocked. I just don't know if it's like do X amount of things and then you unlock it, or like real time days. So we'll see that. If it takes a long time, I might be upset with that, because I want to start moving things around as quickly as possible.
Yeah, because it said, didn't it, that you get given the like what was it? You get given the title of the person who creates the island. So it's like
you get a permit.
Yeah.
And then you you get some other thing along with it.
Do you think that's going to work with Tom Nook then? Do you think, because obviously in the past you give him more money, he's like, congratulations, here's your house. Now it's going to cost this much. Is it now going to be, congratulations, you got a new house and here's a new tool? You got a new, and each time you level up, is it going to, be that sort of way to make people actually have a goal?
Well, I mean, the house is an option. You can keep your tent.
Yeah.
I mean, so if like, how you're explaining it, if the end goal is like you have to buy a house, then it defeats the whole purpose of like living outside in a tent.
Yeah.
Can I still have my items outside if I have a house? Right? Or is that only option with a tent?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you can, because in the footage you saw someone setting up like a garden.
Okay.
So I think that's definitely the case. You can sort of create like areas.
Oh, did you guys see that one picture of the tombstone?
Yeah. That's what. That's got to be linked. That's got to be linked to that ghost, surely. Which makes me.
There's a picture going around on Twitter, from the Nintendo Direct, of a tombstone in like the back corner.
I see that.
Yeah, and it's the craziest thing ever. And so there's all this debate going around of who's this tombstone. Now, it could be the ghost, of course, because we've seen that in the actual footage. But where's the old mayor? That's my question. Right?
Yeah.
The little old turtle. Yeah, I really wanted to learn more. Yep, there you go. Checkpoints has it. I really want to learn more about that. I liked the little Easter egg, how it was just like shoved in there, but without actually acknowledging it.
It makes me wonder. It's like, will that be able to be moved, and will there be like adventure modes?
Well,
like that would that
I'm
be an innovation
like,
for
if you
Animal
walk
Crossing?
up to it, like it'll probably like give you like a little readme thing, like as far as like, here lies so and so. I mean, you could always chop down the trees and the things around it and whatnot. As far as moving it,
no, but I mean, like moving it, and then there's something underneath it. Is because also they spoke about the ghost, and they're like, and then they didn't hint at anything else. Is that ghost linked to a quest, which is just sort of like a new innovation to make Animal Crossing feel a little bit more adventurous, or at least make you, if you want that to be your Animal Crossing, sort of let it be your adventure. Like, is that the way they're going to go with it?
I'm gonna laugh if I can turn in the skeleton to the museum.
We'll just have it in a museum.
Yeah. Random body I found, on the island.
So what I hear you guys saying is, can't wait to get your hands on Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yeah. My girlfriend has been making me blackmail her with Animal Crossing. that makes no sense. I've pre-ordered it for her, and now she keeps buying me things, and I'm like, why? It's like, because you bought me Animal Crossing. I'm like, stop making me blackmail you.
It's like, I'll cancel it.
You bought this for me. Okay.
I'll leave Animal Crossing for you guys. I've never played one.
You're missing out,
Or
buddy.
do you plan on getting it?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. Or
Nah.
or is this one okay? So this is one.
I know what it is. Like I said before we started, I had an ex-girlfriend when I lived with my parents back in the day, I had 2 TVs in my room because she wanted to play that while I was playing Assassin's Creed 3. So I just never touched Animal Crossing. Every time I looked over, I just saw her like digging for things, and
Assassin's Creed 3
I don't
is
know.
Animal
And I was
Crossing
like, I'm too
series.
busy playing this.
The
So,
homestead,
no, I
the
don't.
homestead in Assassin's Creed was Animal.
I guess.
My Assassin
But,
Turkey will be happy.
I'll probably skip on that one.
Fair enough.
I mean, that's the same thing as Doom as well, isn't it? So,
I'm definitely skipping it then.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think Mona, you're getting Doom over Animal Crossing, aren't you?
We got them both, baby.
Oh.
Get them both, exactly.
Doomslayer and Isabel for life.
So who's gonna play it first, you or?
She's
the
gonna
missus?
do the Animal Crossing thing. I'm gonna be
Okay.
doing Doom Eternal.
You're asking the guy wearing a Doom shirt right now?
I mean, I
Yeah,
have
it's Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing. Yeah. So I'm gonna have the Doom soundtrack playing.
But I
That's a vocal.
So will you have the Animal Crossing soundtrack playing during Doom?
You know what? Let's do it.
How would that turn out?
Also, I'm hoping that this new cross friendship, let's have some Easter eggs for Animal Crossing and Doom.
Imagine
like
a little chibi Doom guy that you can just add
Yeah,
into
with,
your
like,
town.
Isabel,
Isabel's your
holding-
or just like
Final
just a villager's head on the bike fire.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
That's what they need. They're
So-
amazing.
As you guys hear, we are extremely excited for Animal Crossing New Horizons. As you hear on this side here on the channel, you'll know that there's a ton of stuff coming for Animal Crossing in the future. So with that being said, guys, we're going to go to our outros, but thank you guys so much for joining episode 37 of the Lootcast. It's been a freaking fun episode. We're going to talk to the cast, see what they're up to, see what plans they have for their channels and respective videos coming. But thank you everybody in chat for talking to us. I know there's a lot of movement in the chat tonight. We appreciate everybody who came in and hung out with us during all of what we talked about, especially all of this Animal Crossing towards the end. We saved it for the best is last. So thank you everybody for coming through tonight. We appreciate you guys. Also, if it's your first time here, make sure you subscribe, follow, do all that funky stuff. But let's head over to checkpoints. What you got coming up on the channel? Anything that people can expect? And
Yes,
again, where can they find you?
Right, you can find me at the Checkpoint Show. And actually, I'm far ahead on videos. So next week, I'm already scheduled for a video. So next week, I'll be talking about Batman Arkham Asylum and how it uses nostalgia of the animated series and growing up with Batman as a tool to sell itself and how that can be important in video games as well. And also sharing your nostalgia for newer generations to come. That's all scheduled to go. So if you're a fan of Batman, I definitely recommend checking that one out. I'm also working on a video talking about survival in video games, and Animal Crossing will probably be on there now that it's more survival focused. And also talking about VR games as well. So that should be interesting. And that's all come up on the channel. Yeah, so sweet.
Cool deal. Mr. Gamer Thump, thank you for joining us another week. What you got in the cooker?
Well, if you are a fan of Netflix Castlevania or Castlevania in general, I'm getting a video going live in about 20 minutes here on the channel.
Hey.
And tomorrow I have a Mortal Kombat video and a video about Tiger Electronic handhelds. And then next week, back on the grind for more videos. So that's about it right now. There's always something going on.
Can I say something, teacher, please? Also, since being on this podcast, I just got over 200 subscribers, and I imagine people who are watching this help subscribe to that. So thank you very much. 600.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
What'd you have when the podcast started?
that was 595. I'm now on 602. So
Hey,
Awesome.
Nice.
Milestone.
There you go.
sweet.
Awesome.
thank you for joining tonight.
In the big leagues now.
Mr. Your Player 2, thanks for coming on tonight, my friend. What you got?
Yes,
what you
always
got
a
coming
pleasure.
up?
Well, most recent video I did, I'll go ahead and drop it in chat, was the unboxing of the Darksiders Collector's Edition, which is very, very cool. And then Tuesday, I will be dropping a video that is specifically about some of the difficulties that you encounter doing video game streams if you're a video game content creator who either has an eye towards live streaming or you're already doing it, and you're trying to think about some of the difficulties you encounter. I'm wondering if they're common to other creators. They absolutely are, and I'm going to talk about some of those. And then next Thursday, again, an ill-advised video that I'm putting out, which is why I think a Nintendo Switch Pro is inevitable, but I'm gonna have to add like an asterisk to that that says probably not this year, probably 2021 and beyond. But still, I think my reasons and justification are sound for that video. So that's what you can expect coming up next week.
Absolutely, and as always, it's a pleasure having you on. Thanks for joining us for another week. And what kind of Red Bull you got there?
Please leave.
This is a Diet Coke. This is a Diet Coke twisted mango.
What?
I'm mixing it up a little bit. I was drinking so many. I have a couple of Red Bulls in the fridge, and I was like, no, I'm gonna have Diet Coke.
Why is your Coke can elongated? What's going on?
Because the flavored ones come in like the Red Bull size cans, and then like regular.
Oh, that is really.
So they're trying to appeal to people with Red Bull addiction. So therefore, you hopped on board that train.
It goes
It's because we're in America. Checkpoints.
Yeah,
we're in America.
You lot are mental.
It's like, what are these new shapes?
I'm over here. It's a tea. What you got?
They've got. Have you had the Coca-Cola energy drink yet?
Oh, we have that.
There's the
not even heard of
Coca-Cola
that.
energy drink now.
Yeah.
They've even adopted the can motif there. So
Yeah.
Isn't Coca-Cola technically an energy drink to begin with? Because I mean, it's got caffeine, right?
Yeah, it's jam packed with cocaine. That's what I heard. So, original
Drive a
recipe.
tiger.
Well, the diet only has a small sprinkle. So
Yeah.
A little hint. Hint. Speaking about a little hint, Mr. Mono Pulse, what's going on Mono Mondays?
Oh man, we've been doing the community raid night. We'll probably do that for a little bit longer. It's been fun every single week, and I've gotten a shiny or two every single week, so I'm benefiting if anybody else is as well. So please come through for that. But I do actually my major point of contention that I want to get to tonight. Anybody who's made it for this long, if you're new to the channel, if you have not already, boom, throw it in the chat right now. Please go ahead and enter in our giveaway. Because we are, again, this month giving away a $50 Nintendo eShop gift card to one lucky winner. We gave it away last month. We're giving it away this month. And if you're new to the channel, tuning in from anywhere in the world, please go ahead and enter that so we can help you pay for, I don't know, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC. Well, we can't feed you, but we can get you a video game so you can buy food with your real money. So please go ahead and enter that giveaway if you haven't already. Greatly appreciate it, and we can't wait to get back to you yet again.
Absolutely. And guys, from us to you, thank you guys so much for joining episode 37 of the Lootcast. It's been a fun time hanging out with you guys tonight. Make sure you guys, if you're not already, make sure you guys go and check us out on Twitter at The Game Looters. We're going to be putting up a poll there tomorrow to see on what game we play on Backlog Fridays. So tomorrow we're going to take a stab at our backlog again tomorrow night. Last week we did Resident Evil 2, and if you'd like to see more of that, all you got to do is simply go and vote on the poll going up tomorrow morning. So that way we can figure out what we're going to be playing. But we have a ton of...
We're staying on Resident Evil. I told you.
We have a ton of stuff coming up, so make sure you guys check out for that. I already promoted it, so it's happening. You guys tell us what we should do. That's how it works here. On Saturday...
I'm telling him after stream.
You don't need to save from it. Play it.
On Saturday, we're going to have the Shiny Hunter. We have a dual Shiny Hunter coming back. And on Sunday, well, that's a surprise, because if there's anything you want on Sunday, it's a surprise. A wee surprise on Sunday. So make sure you guys come back for that. And then, of course, we have Mono Pulse featuring on the channel on Mondays for Mono Monday.